best gifts that Cher and I can give you this Christmas is a metaphysical Christmas. And the best way to start a metaphysical treatment of Christmas is to let you know what Jesus would say to Frosty. What do an old silk hat and a corncob pipe and a button nose and boots have in common? Well, they all belong to a lump of snow called Frosty the Snowman. The Frosty the Snowman song was created in response to the success of the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer song. When songwriters Jack Nelson and Steve Rollins saw the incredible success Gene Autry and Johnny Marks had with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, they wanted a piece of Christmas immortality. And so they approached Gene Autry, who was delighted with the opportunity to ride on his coattails of his previous hit. And the rest, as they say,
is history.
Is frosting on the cake. The mystical Frosty catches the imagination of children ages 5 to 105. In 1951, Frosty made Dell Comics and the Little Golden Book. On December 7, 1969, CBS aired Frosty the Snowman for the first time. Frosty's voiceover was done by Jackie Vernon, and the 30-minute special was narrated by Jimmy Durante. Ever heard of him? Durante also sang Frosty, and his rendition became as popular as Gene Autry's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. After it was aired as a future TV length 10 years later, CBS aired it again as Frosty Returns in 1992. And John Goodman was Frosty, and Jonathan Winters was the narrator. I bet they had fun. Yeah. In the popular press, Frosty the Snowman stands for joy. The joy of living, the joy of laughter, the joy of children playing, the joy of spontaneity, the joy of doing things you like with the friends you like. Frosty the Snowman symbolizes all of that. He is joy personified. He adds warmth to coldness, and he connects with something deep inside of us. And we'll talk about that something in just a few moments. John Grisham, the author of The Pelican Brief and The Firm and The Runaway Jewelry, also wrote another book that you may not have heard of, and it's called Skipping Christmas. It's about a couple named Luther and Nora Crank who live in an unnamed northeastern suburb. They decide to skip Christmas. Their only daughter's leaving for a 2-year stint in the Peace Corps, and they have no other family except just the two of them for the holidays. So Luther figures out how much money they spent on Christmas last year and discovers that for half that amount, he and Nora can go on a 10-day Caribbean cruise during Christmas. And so they decide to do that, and they take a pledge. No Christmas, no gifts, no decorating the house or lawn, no baking or cooking, no yard ornaments. Instead, they're going to take it easy. The reasoning is that Christmas is much too commercialized anyway. So here's what happened, according to Grisham. Luther refuses to put a gigantic ornament of Frosty the Snowman on top of his house. This causes the neighborhood to lose the best decorated neighborhood competition in the city. So they're not liked very well by the neighbors. And one morning they get up and they find protest signs on their lawn, urging them to free Frosty from their attic. But they want to capture the real meaning of Christmas this year. So they plan on taking Nancy's Solstice CD with them on their trip, and a couple of unique metaphysical Christmas talks as well, so they can experience the true meaning of Christmas. The story ends happily, of course, for the Cranks and for John Grisham, who was delighted with his book sales. But in another book written by another more obscure John, the author lays the foundation for a more metaphysical Frosty treatment. I'm referring, of course, to the writer of the Gospel of John in the New Testament. Traditional Christmas stories usually come from Matthew and Luke. And in each of these Gospels, you find a full treatment of the nativity story. But when you go to John's Gospel, there is no nativity. No shepherds, no magi, no star, no heavenly host, no shepherds, not even a Mary or Joseph in the story. The writer of John, like Luther and Nora, seems to skip Christmas. And I say seems to skip Christmas. What you get in John's Gospel is an esoteric story about something called the Word. In John 1:1 it says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." And in verse 14 it says, "And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us." John skips the literal account entirely. He cuts to the chase. He dives under the hype and hyperbole of the Matthew and Luke accounts. And that's what Cher and I are going to do this morning. Cut to the chase in terms of the real meaning of Christmas. Here's what we believe Jesus might have said about the Frosty myth, using it as a metaphor. Quoting Jesus. What John is saying, he might begin, is the Word becomes flesh and dwells among us as us in human form. The parallel with Frosty is obvious, he might quip. As a lump of snow, Frosty came to life. As a lump of clay, we come to life because of the indwelling Christ's presence. It takes children trust and imagination to see the mystical in the ordinary and the ordinary as mystical. In the popular song you sing today, he might say, it says to catch him if you can. Catch what? Why, catch his drift. Sorry for the pun. The drift that says you are animated by the Christ within. Because you are, each of us is the Christ, expressing at the point of us. The psalm also says that he'll be back again one day. The truth is, the Christ reappears every day, tens of millions of times every day. Why? Because every time a human being is born, the Christ presence, which is the Word of God, animates that person by giving that person life. And the Christmas story is the birth in consciousness of that awesome awareness of our true nature. Jesus might even say, Christmas is an incarnation story. It uses my birth and life as the template for your own spiritual journeys. He might even say, I'm with the Christ. Christmas is much too commercialized. People are missing the central teaching of the Christmas story, he would say. Whether it's running around in silk hats and boots, or dancing barefooted around a Christmas tree, or buying Christmas gifts on Black Friday, or joining friends as they celebrate their own particular religious tradition, the Christmas message is this. The Christ incarnates as you, so you can go home again and help others go home again too. That's why we're here. Jesus might also say, I invite you to pay attention to Reverend Cher's part of the talk, because I have a few things I'd like to say to Frosty the Snowman.
All right.
So don't you just love snowmen? I mean, how many have built a snowman? I'm just curious. In your life sometime? Yeah, all of us, right? Just about all of us. I saw a few people hold their hands up. But even people like me who abhor cold weather,
Yeah.
when you see the little snowflakes start, I mean, I'm the first one. I want to grab my scarf and my gloves, and I want to run out and I want to build that snowman. If there's not much snow, it may be this tall, but we're going to have a snowman. So there's no wonder that Frosty connects so much with everybody's hearts, and we just really understand him. So Bill shared how Jesus would interpret Frosty, but we believe that Jesus had some things to say to it. So right now we'd like to eavesdrop a little and just kind of hear what Jesus would say to Frosty. And then I have a little commentary because, not that I can speak better than Jesus, but I might want to just bring it into how we can relate it. And as I think about it, I believe that Jesus is going to share 3 R's with Frosty that we can learn from. So, are you ready? Mm-hmm. Let's just listen. Frosty, do you know that you are a perfect example of something that I used to say? Once I told people, don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry about what you wear or what you drink, because life is so much more than what you wear or what you drink or what's going to happen tomorrow. You get it, Frosty. Look at you. That's what I'm talking about. You are in the moment. You enjoy every moment. You are here. And you don't worry about what's coming. So you can enjoy the present. So what is that saying to us? Release. Release worries about the future and focus on the now. That's pretty powerful. Think about it. You know, we spend expectation. Our first candle is expectation. We spend a whole year looking forward to Christmas, right? And then when Christmas season hits, we hydroplane through it. Because we're so worried about everything that's happening. Am I right?
Right.
We're worried about, let's see, do I send cards or not? Or can I do e-cards and will that work? Will people get it? Do I get the right gifts? Who's coming to visit us, or are we the ones that hit the road? And oh my gosh, when all those people get together, how are we going to deal with that? Are we going to have enough money? What's going to show up? Am I going to get invited to that party? And what do I wear? And we just worry about the future. And we miss the joy of every moment. How much are you missing because of your focus on the future? You know, Bill and I like to travel, and we've traveled a good bit in our day, and we have some friends that we like to travel with. But one of the friends of ours is a great videographer, and he has this video camera. It's kind of shrunk in size over the years, but he always brings it. And he spends the entire vacation behind this camera. He misses everything that's happening because he's so worried about getting the right shot and remembering everything. And then guess what? Nobody ever has time to look at it. So he misses the essence of what he waited all year to do, which was take this great vacation. I bet he couldn't even tell you what was happening because he's so busy behind the camera. Let's not miss Christmas that way. That's the wrong way to skip Christmas. Christmas is meant to be joy and celebration, not stress and frustration. Take a breath and breathe that in. That's important. Joy and celebration, not worry and stress, right? We want to do the right thing. So be like Frosty. Set your intention to be totally present in this moment. Release worries about the future. Focus on now. Well, that's pretty powerful, but I think Jesus has more to say. So let's kind of listen in. You know, Frosty, this is important, so listen up. You thought when the kids put that hat on your head that you came to life. But I have got a newsflash for you, Frosty. It's not in the hat. It's in the heart. You had that power all along. You just gave power to the hat. Forget outer stuff. Remember the heart. And your heart is in the right place. What can we learn from that one? Recognize. Recognize the source. Your source, it's not in the hat, it's in the heart. It's not in outer things, it comes from within. How much do we focus on stuff and thinking we got to have all the right stuff for Christmas? But where does the joy come? The joy comes from within. I remember when our kids were little, my mom gave them a toy catalog. Y'all remember the toy catalog? I don't even know if they do those anymore, but they were like this thick, filled with toys. And she said, I want you to just identify the things that you would really like for Christmas. Because she was having trouble figuring out what they wanted. She cracked up when she looked at it after they left. They had circled almost every single thing in the catalog. Some things they circled and put a star by, but I mean, it was full of stuff that they wanted. are we like that, really, when you think about it? We think we have to have all the stuff. And yet, it's not in the hat. It's in the heart. So we want to get our heart right and remember the source. You know, our happiness comes from within. And when we are centered in that knowing, Christmas takes on a whole new meaning. Frosty, he has one more thing to hear from Jesus. So let's listen in one last time. Frosty, I am so excited to see you dancing and singing. You've got it right. You are pure joy. And you will not let anything get in your way, even a traffic cop that tries to stop you from your parade. You know joy. You are joy. And that's what life's about. That's what this whole life is about, finding joy. And so our third point is to reaffirm joy no matter what. Remember, we talked about that all of November. In all things, give thanks. We talked about how important joy is. So try it this season. You know, when you are with your relatives and you think that somebody must have done a switch at birth on you because there's no way that relative can have your DNA. Yeah, that hits close, doesn't it? Instead of the frustration, think joy. Reaffirm joy. Reaffirm joy as anything that's happening. As your visitors come, as you plan a party, as you're getting things ready, do it with joy. You know, as I was working on this week, I realized something really interesting. In a past life, a long time ago, I used to work for the National Bureau of Standards. And when I worked there, I was in training, and we had a whole contingent of deaf employees. So I learned sign language so I could communicate with them and do training with them. And I just love it. They were so open and receptive to helping me not make a fool out of myself as I tried to learn sign language. But as I was thinking about it, I remembered the sign for joy. Because sometimes I can't help it. I'm not really good at sign language anymore because I haven't used it as much. But every now and then, certain words I'll just start using the sign for. So you may see me do that singing sometimes because I love to do it with music. But as I was working on this, the sign for joy. And I realized the sign for joy is this. And it struck me, where is it coming from? The heart. The heart out. And I never thought about that before, but that is what pure joy really is. It's not from out there in causing it, it's from here out. So the sign for joy makes so much sense. So reaffirm joy no matter what. And I think there's one more thing we could learn from Frosty. You know, Frosty knew he was going to melt. But he told the kids, don't worry because I'll be back again someday. Now we could get real metaphysical with what this means, but I don't want to do that. I want to keep it real simple. We don't have to have a meltdown. Does that not make sense? You don't have to have any meltdowns this season because we know that we are one. There is no separation and we have everything we need to be at peace as we move into the holiday season. So much to learn from Frosty. So when you hear the song this season, Frosty the Snowman, you're going to hear it through different ears now. And I want you to use it as a way to remember. Remember what Jesus said and what we can learn from it. You might not want to quote this to your fundamental friends. They may say, it's not in the Bible, but Jesus said that. But basically, what we're learning is we want to release worries about the future and be present now in this here moment. We want to recognize the source. It's not in the hat, right? It's not out there. It's in the heart. And then finally, we want to reaffirm joy no matter what. And we want to remember we never have to have a meltdown because we know we are one. As we like to say, wherever we are, God is. Because we are God expressing, and there is no separation. As we go, thumpity-thump, thump, thumpity-thump, thump, over the fields of snow as we walk the spiritual path on practical feet. Blessings.